Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our men's advanced Bible study on 7th of December, 2021. We'll be dealing with chapter 15 of Jubilees later on in the lesson. I'm asking everybody to like, share, subscribe to the Prophets of Awakening channel and hit the notification button if you can. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanak and the Torah. Tanak is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by Lord of Hosts. Shalom and welcome to everybody to Prophets of Awakening, to our men's Bible study. We're going to do a moment of silence, prayer, and then Psalms, and then do the current events. Oh Lord, we come before thee at this hour, praising you, honoring you because of your position both in heaven and upon the earth, a position in which the Creator Yahweh have given unto thee. Through your spirit and counsel, Lord, we have awakened, and we have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as a Savior and a Redeemer. We are thankful for all that you have done, and we are eagerly searching the scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. Lord, we pray unto thee that you continue to let your light shine upon us in spirit and in truth. And we love you and we seek you daily. Oh Lord, there is none else besides thee to redeem us. We see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay, somebody gonna read a psalm?
Yes, sir. I got the Psalms tonight. I'm gonna go with Psalms 143.
Okay.
It's a prayer of David.
Okay.
My soul thirsts for the Lord of hosts. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Give ear to my supplication. In thy faithfulness, answer me, and in thy righteousness. And enter not into judgment with thy servant, for in thy sight shall no man live and be justified. For the enemy has persecuted my soul. He has smitten my life down to the ground. He had made me to dwell in darkness, as those that has been long dead. Therefore is my spirit overwhelmed within me. My heart within me is desolate. I remember the days of old. I meditate on all thy works. I muse on the works of thy hands. I stretch forth my hands unto thee. My soul thirsts after thee as a thirsty land. Selah. Hear me speedily, O Lord. My spirit fails. Hide not thy face from me, lest I be like unto them that go down into the pit. Cause me to hear thy loving kindness in the morning, for in thee do I trust. Cause me to know the way within I shall walk, for I lift up my soul unto thee. Deliver me, O Lord, from my enemies. I flee unto thee to hide. Teach me to do thy will, for thou art my God. Thy spirit is good. Lead me in the land of uprightness. Quicken me, O Lord, for thy name's sake. For thy righteousness' sake, bring my soul out of trouble. And of thy mercies, cut off my enemies, and destroy all them that afflict my soul, for I am thy servant. Okay, this is Psalms 143, Psalm of David. Uh, I like to focus on verse 5, where it says, I remember the days of old. I meditate on all thy works. I muse on the works of thy hands. And that's something that I tend to do because it's amazing what the Lord of hosts do with nature, what he do with man, what he do with his signs in the sky. And these things do amaze me. And I'd be amused by these things. I also, things like bringing us together here on Prophet of Awakening. This is his
Right.
work. This is his
Right.
doing. I get amused by these type of things.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
also, verse 8 Cause me to hear thy loving kindness in the morning. For indeed do I trust. Cause me to know the way wherein I should walk. For I lift up my soul to thee. On that first part, cause me to hear thy loving kindness in the morning. Reminds me of when back in Genesis when he said he walked in the cool of the morning. That's when he
Right.
came to Adam in the
Right.
cool of the morning. So,
Right. Yeah,
so
I
I
was
think
on.
it's good to lift up your voice to the Lord of hosts in the morning.
Right. Right. Yeah, I was looking up. I was looking at 8. Also, the last part says, "For I lift up my soul unto thee." That's when you fast. That's what Isaiah did.
Right,
When you fast, you lift the
right.
spirit up, right? And then
Afflicting yourself, yes.
right, you
Mhm.
bring the spirit man up, and you suppress the flesh. Uh, and then that other one was says at 7. Let me see. Yeah, 7 says, "Hear me speedily, O Lord, and my spirit faileth. Hide not thy face from me, lest I be like unto them that go down to the pit." So, we was talking about how these heathens and the Gentiles, because of their origins, the spirit that's in them, when they pass away, it stays here on the earth
Mm-hmm.
or go down into Sheol. But Abraham's and all them and the Israelites, he said that he was gathered into their fathers, which is, their spirit was lifted and went back to heaven where it came. It's chambers. And so when we see that happening when these wicked spirits, when David passed away in Psalm 23, I mean in 2 Samuel 23, he passed away and he said he found himself amongst these wicked spirits and they tried to take his soul down to the pit. And he cried to heaven. And the Lord of hosts came and got him. Said he brought him to a large place.
See, that's interesting. I didn't see it from that point of view, where our spirits ascend, which we have discussed before, but they spirits go down to the pit.
You're right.
Right.
Exactly.
And they would try to pull our spirits down with theirs.
Right. Right. Once we pass, once we leave the flesh body.
Right. Right.
And so also with that understanding too, that's what those seven are there for. Like I was saying before, when they're using that analogy about a hen and covering us with your wings. So that's what their job is. They watching over it, just like an egg is a chicken side of the egg. So the hen is watching over the egg because there's a chicken there. Well, these 7 angels is watching over Abraham's seed and Adam's seed because in that body is a spirit. And no sooner than that person passed, they there
Mm-hmm.
to escort that spirit back to heaven where it came. That's what brings
It felt.
Ezekiel 37 to life. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say verse 8 stood out to me. The first part caused me to hear thy
Yeah.
love kindness in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a Sabbath lesson you done about 2 weeks ago, about I think about coming out of Egypt, and we read something in Jeremiah, I think, that through his love kindness he drawed us to him. And
Right.
that's pretty powerful. His love kindness,
Right.
he'll draw you to the truth. Because I
Right.
always ask that question, why me? Why did you show this to? Why did you open me up to this truth?
Right.
And that love kindness stood out to me.
Exactly. Ain't that something? Yeah, same thing too in 11. Quicken me. Ain't that something?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, anybody got any current events?
Well, Leonard, before we go to current events, I got one more Psalms I want to read. It's very short, but I think
Okay.
it's perfect for the men's class.
Okay.
If we could just turn there, it's a very short psalm, but I just want to. I thought when I went through it earlier today, I thought it would be perfect to read to the brothers.
Okay.
Psalms 133 is a song of degrees of David. It goes, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garment, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore." So here it's just letting us know, man, it's good when we could get together to discuss the words of the Most High, or just to talk as brothers in unity.
Right.
Right.
So I just thought that this was a great psalm to just read amongst for the brothers.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You notice that in verse 3, you said the dew on Mount Hermon is just as precious as the dew on Mount Zion. Ain't that so?
Yeah, yeah. That was an eye opener when I read that, because you know what we know about Mount Hermon,
Right.
right? So
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that. Anybody got any current events? Okay.
so evidently Joe Biden put Putin in his place today,
You
according
think
to the
so?
White House.
You think so?
Yeah, I know better than that.
Oh, okay.
Let me see what the Russian news channels say
Right.
first.
Exactly. Yeah, I see. I was this little clip they be showing all the time when this black lady was at asked Putin, asking what you afraid of. You can tell he's about to come unglued, but he was trying to hold himself together.
Right. I seen that clip. Yes.
Oh, you see that?
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah. I think he was close to calling her a nigga.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you can see on his face. He didn't know what to
Right.
do. He didn't know whether to go left or right. Trying to keep
Right.
it composed. Uh, this here, this first one is on got to do with Elon Musk. I thought it was interesting. It says Elon Musk claims Neuralink. It's a brain interface technology company. Uh, it is less than a year away from implanting chips into human brains. So they're a year away. Ain't that kind of ironic that he's going with this? They changed the name of Google to Metaverse. Says the news comes from the billionaire himself doing a live stream interview with the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Summit on Monday when asked about plans for the company in 2022. Neuralinks are working well in monkeys, and we are actually doing just a lot of testing and just confirming that it's very safe and reliable, and Neuralink device can be removed safely, Musk said. Mo says, we hope to have this in our first human, which will be people that have severe spinal cord uh, injuries like teleplegic, quadriplegics next year, pending FDA approval. Ain't that something?
Man,
That's kind of
I still say he filled with that fallen angel spirit. They have gave him all sorts of technology solutions for the world, and he rolling with them.
yeah, right. Yeah. It's kind of crazy too, because I don't know if anybody else saw the movie where the guy had this like thing put in his spinal cord, and he ended up, I can't remember the name of the movie. It's kind of interesting though. Yeah, yeah, Play this right here.
Its ability to repay investors. Global market insiders reveal that Evergrande has already missed 5 deadlines for bond interest repayments and warned that the collapse of the property giant is about to send shockwaves throughout the global financial system. The 5 missed repayments
We talked about this before, but this is an update. This is December 7th.
total nearly $160 million, which is only a small fraction of the company's debt. That's why so many investors were extremely alarmed by the default. In essence, it was a signal that the company had lost its ability to meet its most basic payment obligations. And last Friday, confirmation had arrived. Evergrande released a statement that said, in light of the current liquidity status of the group, there is no guarantee that the group will have sufficient funds to continue to perform its financial obligations. The property developer further warned that domestic creditors are also demanding an acceleration of repayments that simply cannot be done at this point. This declaration effectively represents an event of default for all 23 outstanding international bonds valued at approximately $24 billion. Almost all will be lost, and that also has huge implications for the global market, said Dr. Marco Metzler, senior analyst for Deutsche Marktscreening-Agentur, DMSA. The company's statement prompted an urgent government meeting in Guangdong province as Chinese officials summoned Evergrande chair Wei Ka-yen. According to a recent report published by Reuters, Guangdong government will send a working group to oversee Evergrande's risk management, internal controls, and operations.
Yeah, so they were saying that this Evergrande company right here is on the verge of before the end of the year, it's gonna burst. And so yeah, it's something to think about.
Is that company based out of China?
Yeah, it's just like it's like Lehman Brothers was in 2008.
Yeah, they talking about the whole China housing market is about to crash as well.
Yeah, it's behind this company right here. It's tied to it. They looking good. Yeah, so I want to do this here because, like I said, I keep on trying to put emphasis on it, but about this, cryptocurrency. Play this right here. Some of it anyway.
To you by Discord. Hi, welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. In 2009, a man by the name of James Howells proved himself to be a visionary. He started mining Bitcoin before anyone else had ever heard of it. James managed to stockpile 7,500 Bitcoins when they were just a fraction of a cent per coin.
Yeah, check this out. This one, I keep associating this to when the Most High tell us in Genesis 15, we're going to leave the great wealth.
Eventually, his girlfriend made him stop. She thought that the computer doing the mining was, quote, getting too noisy. James later ended up throwing the hard drive in the trash. And today, this mistake cost him over $400 million.
To get your money, you would need that hard drive. Yeah,
he had when Bitcoin originally first started, he had bought it. It was like you can get 4 or 5 of them for $1. He had 7,500 of them, but he had to keep his wallet, his way to access his wallet. You can't access your wallet, get through. So he had 7,500 coins, and now that's worth $400 million. But these old ladies made him throw the computer away. Ain't that so?
Specific file on that hard drive called a wallet file, which the Bitcoin is stored in. And without that file, there is no way of getting the money back because there is no central server that records a log of it.
In 2010, Laszlo Hanyaks bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, or about $35 at the time. It wasn't the first transaction in Bitcoin, but certainly the most widely publicized. Unfortunately today, these delicious pizzas cost him $500 million.
Is it true some people celebrate the anniversary of the day you bought the pizza?
Yeah, May 22nd, Bitcoin Pizza Day. So
It's called Bitcoin Pizza Day?
It is.
It's stories like this that make Bitcoin such a fascinating phenomenon. Its growth and adoption, at least over recent years, has been mind-blowing. But the story of how Bitcoin came to be is just as interesting. Despite Bitcoin's young age when compared to traditional stores of value, the fundamental ideas behind crypto may be older than you think. So the question has to be asked, where did Bitcoin actually come from? Who is the mysterious individual who invented it? Sit back, relax. In this 2-part series, we'll find out.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
For many, Bitcoin is still considered a fad, a Ponzi scheme, something that will disappear as quickly as it materialized. The cryptocurrency has had its fair share of bad reputation through fake crypto frauds such as BitConnect and OneCoin, not to mention payment for narcotics on Silk Road.
What's happening is there's all these copycat cryptocurrencies that are going out there, and there's no regulation on the actual level of Bitcoin itself. You told me, yeah, there's futures regulation, but the underlying asset is completely unregulated. It's a dark market.
Bitcoin is worthless artificial gold, which, if it succeeded, would facilitate a lot of illicit activity.
But the word is starting to get through that Bitcoin is much more than that. People are starting to look at our economic system with increasing skepticism. Currency is continuously being created. Food prices and bond yields are rising, hinting at inflation. And knowing that the long-term value of all fiat currencies over the last few thousand years has tended towards zero, it's only natural to think that there may be some issues ahead. I've outlined financial problems specifically in my How Money is Created video, which all of you really enjoyed, but it clearly highlights that there's a need for new thinking on the topic. Friedrich Hayek, winner of the 1974 Nobel Prize in Economics, stated the following in 1984. I don't believe we shall ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government. All we can do is by some sly roundabout way introduce something that they can't stop. End quote. While it's undeniable that Bitcoin is not perfect, it broadly achieves this goal, and as you'll soon see, it can't be stopped. So before we continue, it's probably wise to have a quick primer on Bitcoin. I first talked about Bitcoin on this channel back in 2013, and since then we've done a whole bunch of episodes on Bitcoin and blockchain. But for those that are new, here's a quick summary. When you pay a shop using a bank card, the shop checks with the bank to see if you have money to make the purchase. The bank checks its records, verifies that you have enough money, and deducts that amount from your card. It then updates its records and takes a fee for providing their services. If you wanted to remove the banks from the system, who would you trust to keep the records straight? No altering or cheating. No one would ever trust a single person with that much power, but you may give your trust to a collective group of people, many millions in fact. The main idea is to not have a centralized record of transactions. Many copies of those transactions are distributed across the world. Every owner of each copy records every transaction. In this new model, the shop, instead of checking with the banks, checks with everyone's records to see if you have the money. When the purchase is made, all the record keepers update their records. If an individual transaction record is fraudulent, it doesn't agree with the rest of the copies of the transaction records and gets rejected. This large group of people checking record transactions aren't people at all, but a network of computers. There is no need for third parties such as banks, because the decentralized network keeps itself in check. Amazingly, that means no bans, no server shutdowns, or blocking of payments, because payments occur directly between people. Although transactions can be tracked, they cannot be stopped. So-called miners keep the network running by solving complex equations on their computers. These people mine Bitcoin in chunks called blocks that contain all of the recent transactions. Blocks are kind of like a page in a record-keeping book. The miners receive payment in Bitcoin for their effort, much like mining gold. Also like gold, There's a finite supply of Bitcoin to stop it from being devalued, much like we're currently seeing in fiat currency. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, and the final Bitcoin will be mined in 2140. So what gives Bitcoin its value? In reality, it's just worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So could the price drop to zero? If confidence is lost, yes, it's possible. But regardless, it is a pretty interesting idea. There's an argument to be made that the value of Bitcoin is actually the trust and utility of the Bitcoin network itself. What the price is for that value, no one is sure yet.
Okay, yeah, I'm playing this because I think it did a good job of breaking it down, the origins of it and how it actually operates. So it's where did Bitcoin come from? It's the name of the video. You want to watch it. And then now I want to get to the point that I was making about it's nothing else out there. When the money go away, which is getting ready to happen, there's nothing else out there to back it up except cryptocurrency. Let me play this right quick.
All right, so let's dive into the future of where the crypto markets are heading and what are some of the contributing factors that could cause the market to go vertical. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. We're going to talk about two big moves today that are really kind of guiding, I think, the narrative behind how Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the key altcoins will kind of traverse the market in 2022. If you've been watching our show for long, you understand that our analysis on cryptocurrency is that we are now in an elongated project, or I should say an elongated season for how cryptocurrency and the market is responding. And also, I think when a lot of people are, at least our viewers, are really looking and trying to understand how and when will Bitcoin start to see that kind of movement. Now, the cycle being elongated has really started to move a lot of analysts into looking at what are some of the key contributors that are going to cause these things to move. Remember, markets move based on how the market is responding to certain types of news. And then, of course, sentiment always is, in our opinion, the #1 driver of how it moves markets, simply because it goes right into cash transactions based on what other people are saying out there. I want to jump to a couple of stories, but before we do, let's get into the market today. Market cap holding in at 2.38 million, as you can kind of see right there. 2.8 million, 2.83 trillion, 24-hour volume, 119 million. And of course, the Bitcoin and ETH dominance ratios at 40.7 and 21.6. ETH up a nice amount here. So interesting to see, because I think we will see some movement in the space. And if you look at where Bitcoin's dominance has been throughout the year, this high right here was on January 2nd, right there. And you've got a dominance of 72.5. Obviously, we saw a big slide off in the year as DeFi. Then we saw, of course, gaming, NFTs chip away at the dominance of Bitcoin. And right there, after we saw the May, remember the big dip in May, because this is something that's kind of interesting to a lot of people when you look at what we just had in terms of market correction. The big dip in May, right here, ETH dominance basically dropped from 39.5 and then rose to almost 48 in the dominance. And that's pretty typical of how people anticipate these bear markets to start, is that Bitcoin dominance will start to rise, because people look at that as kind of the secure asset, or the place that is the harbor of your wealth in moving assets into it. And if you look further out here on Bitcoin, started dropping, market started to normalize. We did see it kind of lift back up here at 48. This was around El Salvador periods. Then we started to see Bitcoin again drop, people moving a lot more into altcoins and the metaverse. This, of course, was on September 11th, right after metaverse announcement. You saw this, and then a little bit of a rise right here as the all-time highs were hit, and then the fall off right here, preparing for what many people thought would be the end of the cycle. And that, of course, has elongated. And notice that you don't see any kind of movement. Let me kind of draw that out for you guys so you can understand. This right here was the May correction. Bitcoin's dominance goes right up. This right here was this correction we just had, Bitcoin unfazed, meaning nobody moved any of their investments out of altcoins and maybe the metaverse, gaming, DeFi, all those different alternative projects, including projects like ETH, never got phased. So people did not look at this as being the end of the bear market, which I would agree when you look at what's happening in the space right now. All right, so I want to jump.
Yeah, so what you see happening is what he was showing you was this cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all that is, every time something happens to the market, it has an effect on cryptocurrency. And so, like I was saying before, it's tied to it. And so, no sooner than you take the dollar or take the money out the way, there ain't nothing left there to deal with but the cryptocurrency. Any comments?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. You know, they even the out at the Staples Center out in LA.
Yeah.
You know, they changing the name of the Staples Center to Crypto Arena.
Okay. Ain't that something?
They getting ready for the future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sign of what?
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like I said, you looking right at it because I mean, it's nothing else there. And dollar is going fast. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been devalued.
Oh yeah, it's already been devalued. It's just a matter of them. Like I said, I think the cue is what Russia and China getting ready to do. When they, you know, I think Russia going to attack Croatia, and China going to attack Taiwan. And ain't nothing America can do.
Right.
And that's what I think it's a lot of stuff going to go down. Because you got to stop and think about it. China got to do something because they're in a bind too with the evergreen thing.
Well, you know, that's how countries turn around their economy. It's through war.
Right. Exactly.
War is money making.
Right. Yeah, I was just watching. I didn't even know that though, but I was just watching a little documentary on Hitler. He attacked the Rothschild. He got a bunch of their money and a bunch of their you know, they had a lot of ancient stuff like paintings and all that different type of stuff like Leonardo da Vinci records and all that stuff. They had all that stuff, and then Hitler ended up getting all of it. And he needed that. He needed that because he was in a bind as far as he had to supply his army, you know, and he had to, you know, he needed money. He needed gold. Yeah. And there's some.
And if you look at the banking system, you know, like you always teach us, it's evil anyway because they charge interest, and you know, it was set up by evil people, and and when you look at how the Lord of Hosts is already orchestrating the unwalled villages, and he's setting everything up, and you know, it's beginning to be clear.
Right.
And think about it, fellas. Listen to what he just said in the video. The market is affected about good news or bad news.
Right.
So all the Lord hosts have to do is bring bad news.
Right.
It's over.
Exactly. Right.
And the ones at the top, the rich ones, the ones making a killing off the market.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they always talk about insider trading. That's all they do is inside trading.
Right.
They already know what's gonna happen. So they, you know, yeah. So they already know what to do. And we were just looking the other day how all those millionaires and those billionaires and all that is taking all their money out. They're getting all they they selling their stocks. Right. You know what they're doing? They're getting cryptocurrency.
Yep.
Just moving it around. They know it's getting out. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, anybody else got anything else on that? Okay. We're gonna open up for some Q&A, questions and comments about anything. Anybody got anything on they want to talk about for a minute? Then we'll go into the lesson.
Okay. Yeah, I got one thing. Last night in the Hebrew community, the new moon was celebrated as a feast day.
Okay.
And that just brings to me the question of the new moon.
Right.
I have seen two schools of thought. Most of us come up on the tradition that the new moon is the first sliver of light on the moon. And then there's also a school of thought that the new moon is a full moon.
Right.
Now, I have read in our biblical records where one would think that it is a full moon, and then there's other passages that would lead you to think that it's the first sliver. And I would just want to get your thoughts on what you think about when that new moon is.
Yeah, I think it's the full moon, and I think that sliver is the first day of the month, or the new month.
So you saying the first day of the month is different from a new moon?
Right. You got
okay.
You got a full moon and a new moon, right?
Right.
So you got the end of the month. At the end, how you know the end of the month coming is the full moon. And then the next day is the new moon. And you start back again with the slivers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if it's showing any kind of sign of a sliver, that's a date.
Now, see, that is consistent to what is said in Enoch,
Right.
the 78th chapter. What you saying there? I think can we go to 1 Samuel chapter 20?
Okay, what it say?
1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 5. It reads, "And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat, but let me go, that I may have myself in the field until the third day at even." So my question is on that is David said tomorrow is the new moon. So he knew when the new moon would be there. Right. Whereas when the moon go dark, it could come back the next day or could come the day after. We don't know. So this verse leads me to think, but we know when a full moon is coming.
Right.
So this verse leads me to think that David is referring to a full moon as a new moon. Because you know when a full moon is going to come, you know it's going to be the very next day. But when that moon is waning on that last sliver, you don't know when that first sliver comes. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days before that sliver appears.
Yeah, well, why you say that?
That's that to get that first sliver of light. You ever just watch the sky? Like when it goes dark, it may not come that very next night. It may be a night or two after before that first sliver of light hits that moon, just from watching the moon.
Okay.
That's the reason I say that. So David wouldn't know. It will be hard for him to say on that first sliver when that first sliver would arrive. That's just my thought. I may be wrong in all this, so I'm not telling you anything concrete. It's just from reading this, he knew exactly the next day would be a new moon.
Right.
And I say it's easier to tell a new moon if it's a full moon than when the first sliver of light comes to the moon.
Right.
That's just my reasoning with it. So.
Right. It would be the same thing too with the full moon. You know, the next day is the next day is the new moon.
Right. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Like,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of ironic because like I was saying, they had the Hebrew calendar and the Enochian calendar got 12 months. All 12 months is 30 days.
Right.
So
I have read that in Enoch, but also David has was a witness to that too, because he set up a captain for each day of the month, and he used 30 captains. So that lets you know that a month was 30 days.
30 days, right?
I can't think of the chapter where he did that, but he put I think a captain for each. Oh no, that's for the 12 months.
That was in the
for 12 months. My bad.
Yeah, you talking about inside the temple. They had 23,000 people had to minister in the temple a month. And they had a man over each month, 12 men.
12 men, yeah, it was for each month.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
another spot that tell you it is 30 days is in the book of Genesis with Noah's flood, because the flood lasted 150 days.
Right.
And he gave a date that was consistent of 5 months from when the rain started to when the rain ended. And there was 150 days. So that lets you know that each day was 30 months. 30 days. Each month was 30 days, yes.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think that's in Genesis 8.
Let me see. Okay.
Yeah, verse 4 said, "And the ark rested in the 7th month." So we got to go back a chapter to see when the rain started.
Right. Yeah, in the chapter 7 says, "And the Lord said unto Noah."
7 and 11, yeah.
Right.
In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the floods of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven was open. So now if you go to verse 8, that was in the 17th day of the 2nd month. If you go to chapter 8 and verse 4, and the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month. So from the 2nd month to the 7th month is 5 months.
Right. 30 days a month.
30 days.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense right there. You did something? Okay, you got anything else on that?
Nah, that's all I had. I just wanted to get your take on it. And
that's the way I had perceived, because when I saw it in Enoch, it made sense to me when he said, what they doing is how you getting those other extra days they got now, because they dealing with a coat, and they dealing with those equinoxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how they adding all them other days. They paying homage to all that stuff there because it's a culture.
Yeah, and see then too, one thing I learned from being here on Prophet Awakening is that one thing is we've been lied to all our lives.
Right.
And I know they've been telling us that the new moon and the first day of the month is that first slip.
Right.
So now I have to research that. I got to put pause to it, because you done lied to me about every other thing. What do I need to trust you on this too?
Right.
So you are trying to disconnect us from our God on all levels.
Right.
So let me take time to put some thought and some research and making sure that you tell me when the new moon really comes. So that's the way. I see that thing. I just can't accept it blindly anymore. Just because a lot of our teachers are still teaching what the Edomites have taught them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, bad knowledge.
What's their agenda for changing the for like going to the Roman calendar and stuff? What are they trying to throw us off?
Yeah, right.
Prophecy?
Yeah, the prophecy part of it.
Okay.
That's what I was reading in Daniel. Let me read it right quick. And then we was because we wasn't zeroed in on, we didn't really get a grasp of what was being said, but he said right here in chapter 7. Let me see. Yeah, chapter 7, verse 25, with Constantine did. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. That's the prophecies. Times is the prophecies. I mean, is the the prophecies that he got, and our way, our culture. So they flipped all that around, like our holy day is on the seventh day of the month. That's how we know that's how the Most High work. And the Lord of Hosts work, where their holy day is on Sunday.
Right.
So they changed it, and they dealing with the sun because they got it from the Egyptians. So they changed it to Sunday, they holy day. And then we know they tamper with the law.
Right. Because he's beginning to put a lot of signs in the sky.
Right.
And
exactly.
Yeah,
I'm gonna read something else too in the Jubilees that's tied to that too, which was like I was like, wow, it's crazy.
Right, because I was going to reference it. You read that about 2 or 3 Sabbaths ago. I think it was in the book of Jubilees where they changed the appointed times and
right, exactly.
But just real quick, guys, 25 is just nothing but a precept to Psalms 83.
Okay, yeah, let me see what it say.
When they it's Confederate against us.
Oh yeah. When the Edomites and all them.
Right, they all of them came together to disconnect us from the Lord of Hosts.
Right, exactly. Right, you right. Is there some? Yeah. So anybody else got anything else? Another question or comment about something? Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna play this here for a minute. I try to keep a little conversation in the bush in case anybody say nothing, talk about nothing. Let me get this right here. This is hold up. This is when China rules the world. So this guy made all this. He made this documentary right here in 2012. So evidently, something we don't know. But we're gonna listen to a little bit of it and then get some comments. And I was telling you that they keep on saying wrong, gone away, but the Most High tells us in Daniel's only 4 beasts. So you have to rightly divide it.
Well, thank you for those words, Oscar, and also to Jenny. Thank you very much. And good evening. China presents us with 2 very interesting challenges. The first is that we've never before seen the like of a country of 1.3 billion people growing at around 10% a year, in other words, doubling in size every roughly 7 years, and doing this over a period now of
Notice what he said, every 7 years. And not only that, it's, when he made this little documentary, it was 2012.
In excess of 30 years. Now, when China started this extraordinary process, the Chinese economy was very small. It was 1/20th the size of the American economy. Now it's over half the size of the American economy, and so the transformation of China has become, at one and the same time, the transformation of the world. This is very visible, particularly in this region of the world, but globally it is now absolutely clear. China is constantly restructuring, reformatting, and transforming the world as we know it. The second problem that China confronts.
So I got a couple of questions about before I'm gonna pause it right here. Anybody else, when you was in Christianity or in the church and all that, did you hear anything about China and prophecy at the end of the world?
I never did.
Right.
No, sir.
And so now we see, quite frankly, that they are. So you got to go back and recalculate and reread whatever the script, whatever they told you, because it's plain to see they're going to be a major part of the end time scenario. Right. They come on the scene at the end, and not only that, it's not no like they talk about in Revelation. He looked under the throne, and it was people from all nations and all kindreds. No, this is a specific race of people right here that's emerging on the world scene. Ain't no all nations. This is a specific group of people. They all look alike. A race of people. Okay.
Is, I think, more difficult. I mean, if that isn't difficult enough, this is even more difficult, which is how to understand China, how to make sense of it. Now, I'm afraid the lazy Western mind assumes that it can just think in Western terms, through a Western prism, according to Western values and Western criteria, and thereby make sense of China. And I want to argue tonight, in the first part of my talk, that this is not the case, that we cannot possibly understand a society like China with such a different history and such a different culture by simply using Western-centric ways of thinking. Now, this is a big problem for us because for over 200 years, the West has dominated the world, and in the process has come to believe that essentially the process of modernization is the process of Westernization, that there is only one destination in terms of the process of modernization, and that is ultimately to be like us. And this is not the case. But we've only really started to think about this seriously over the last 50 years or so, since the process of modernization took root outside the West, and brackets in Japan, and became very clear in East Asia, spread to South Asia, Latin America, and so on. Modernization is not just a product of technology and markets and competition. It is a function of history and culture. And if one wants to see a country which is extremely distinct from anything in the West, then China is the best example. China is not Western, it never has been Western, and it never will be Western. And if you want to know why we don't understand China very well, or we don't understand China barely in many respects, and we constantly get China wrong, as I will try and illustrate during the course of my talk, it is because China is profoundly different. Now, the first part of my talk, I want to illustrate, I want to give you 4 building blocks for understanding the difference that is China. Now, the first is that for the last 100 years, China has called itself a nation state. But anyone who knows anything about China, of course, knows that it's one hell of a lot older than 100 years. I mean, these were the boundaries of China in 200.
You notice on this map right here, you don't see none of the 7 churches over here in China.
121 BC, with the victory of the Qin dynasty at the end of the Warring State period. And the boundaries of China, the lower red line at the top, are today's boundaries of China. And if you just go forward to the next dynasty, which is still over 2,000 years ago, and this is the borders of the Han Dynasty. What's remarkable already 2,000 years ago is that the Han Dynasty was already not far short of the borders of Eastern and Central China today, where then, as now, the vast majority of the Chinese live. The Western regions, which are added much later, are very sparsely populated compared with the Eastern borders. Now, what is fascinating about China is the sense of what it is to be Chinese, the sense of identity of being Chinese, and therefore what China is does not come, of course it doesn't come from the last 100 years. It comes from that long period of Chinese civilization, or if you like, it comes from China as a civilization state. I want to argue that China is primarily not a nation state, it is primarily a civilization state. So all the things that we most associate with being Chinese, or rather, more importantly, what the Chinese think of as being Chinese, come from this, if you like, period of the civilization state. An ideographic language, a very unique relationship between state and society, a very distinctive concept of the family, Confucian values, social relations like guanxi, social customs like ancestral worship, Chinese food, Chinese medicine. These are all functions of China's history as a civilization state. Now, this is so different from the West. I mean, in some Western countries like Australia and the United States, because of the way that they were created, they are essentially, their sense of identity is purely and wholly a product of being a nation state. And broadly speaking, across Europe as well, this is true, that their sense of identity, people's sense of identity comes from being a nation state. So here we have a fascinating difference between the Chinese experience and the Western experience.
So you see that right there? Let's tell you right there. You got to go back and do some more reading and some more praying and all that, because they ain't in scripture. So far as what they gave us, they ain't in scripture. And like I said before, we see they ain't no kin to us. They want you to think we all originated from the same place, but we can see they ain't no kin to us. They don't look nothing like us. So somebody lied somewhere. Yeah.
Hey, Leonard.
Yeah.
I got a question. So in Revelations 16 and 12, when it talks about the kings of the East, are those kings referring to China and Russia?
I would say so, because if you go look at it, China is connected to the Turkish people just as well as Russia. I say Gog and Magog.
Right.
Because that's who coming on the scene in Ezekiel 38.
Mm-hmm. Be China and Russia, yeah.
China and Russia, right. They fumbling with it, but there it is, like I said, and we see them right now as it's a double bang because of what they're doing with, where they coming at America. They coming from one side, Russia coming, and the other side, China coming. And go back to the dream that Daniel had with the Medes and Persians. He saw he saw a ram with 2 horns. Those 2 horns represents 2 different kingdoms. Right.
Okay.
Like that's something. And so, like I said, the luxury that we have is that we sitting right here, right square down in the middle of prophecy, and we see China coming. It ain't like 2,000 years ago, and we trying to predict who gonna come. We in the midst of it. We looking dead at them coming on the scene.
Right. And their coming is for it is to help deliver us. It will be part of our deliverance. That's the great part about it.
Right.
You
exactly. Like I was saying with the everybody talks about the Chaldeans, but it was Persians that released us. We was in a 70-year captivity with the Persians, with the Chaldeans, but the Persians released us, Cyrus.
Right.
Same thing now. It's gonna be the Chinese that's gonna release us. And it's all because he didn't throw them in the cross. It ain't because they like us, because they hate the hell out of us, but he gonna throw them in the cross. In order for him to, it's gonna do that, it's gonna benefit them to release us.
Right. See, they see a benefit in sending us back to Africa,
right.
to help build up Africa for their work.
Yes. For their Road and Belt Initiative.
Yeah, right.
Well, exactly. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I say, you sit there and look at it, you looking dead at it. I mean, we see like the migrations. There was 3 migrations from Babylon and their captivity in Babylon. We see that people are already migrating, they're already leaving here. They've been leaving. And it's just picking up steam. Yeah.
Hey, and now the United States trying to boycott China, the Olympics that China's supposed to be holding.
Right.
And China said that'll be a grave mistake.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, all that's gonna do is make them speed up their planes.
Right.
That's all that's gonna happen.
And I mean the hypocrisy of America, talking about humanity and stuff, the way they have done us for 400 years. It just man.
Right. And it's like no country, no nationality of people can really say anything about no atrocities compared to what happened to us.
Right.
You know, they talk about that little internment camps they put them Chinese in. That ain't nothing compared to what they did to us. Shit. Crazy.
And look at the other leg of that. Like Lamar said, he's talking about boycotting China, but he talking about putting sanctions on Russia.
Right, exactly.
So ain't good.
No, it ain't good. And they off because they don't have that authority no more. You know, they don't have that authority, that respect no more. Nobody don't respect them. So
and Putin is like he the type of fella that'll push back you in the corner to see what you're gonna do.
Right. Ain't that something?
Man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else got anything on that? I'm gonna go ahead and start reading out of this Jubilees, chapter 15. Got some points I want to make. It says I'm in Jubilee chapter 15. It says in the 5th year of the 4th week of this Jubilee, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Abraham celebrated the feast of the first fruit of the grain harvest. And he made new offerings on the altar. The first fruit of the produce to the Lord, a heifer, a goat, a sheep on the altar as a burnt sacrifice to the Lord. Their fruit offerings and the drink offerings he offered on the altar with frankincense. So the thing I want to shine a light on is one of the things is they want us to think that they received the law and all that at Mount Sinai, right?
Right.
See what Abraham doing right here?
Yep.
This before Mount Sinai, and not only that. Remember the first? He's talking about the first fruits right here. Well, what Cain brought? What was Cain supposed to bring to the Lord of hosts? Way back in Genesis,
his first fruits.
His first fruit. That's the same thing.
Right.
So I want you to think that they got all this at the Mount Sinai. So yeah. So anyway, 3. The Lord appeared to Abraham and said unto him, I am God Almighty. Examine yourself and demonstrate before me and be perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you greatly. Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him and said, my law is with you, and you will be the father of many nations. So let's look at, I want to shine a light on something right quick. Maybe this might shake somebody up. Verse 4 says, I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you greatly. So let's go right here right quick. Put a nail in the coffin. I'm in Judges right quick. He just said right there, he made a covenant. Let's see who it is that made the covenant. So I'm in Judges chapter 2, verse 1. It says, and the angel of the Lord, see that, came up from Gilead to Bethlehem and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and I have brought you into the land which I swore unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. So it's the angel of the Lord. The angel is an angel that made the covenant. And there's an angel that's talking over here in Jubilee. We're gonna see that in a minute. We're gonna, that was confirmation right there, but we'll see some more evidence in a minute. So it says like
Abraham on the ground too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It says in verse 4, I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you greatly. And Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him and said, my law is with you, and you will be the father of many nations. Neither shall your name anymore be called Abraham, but your name shall be named from now on, even forever, shall be Abraham. For I have made you the father of many nations, and I will make you very great, and I will make you into nations, and kings shall come forth from you. I shall establish my covenant. You see now it's an angel between me and you, and your offspring after you, throughout their generations, for an eternal covenant, so that I may be God to you and your offspring after you, and you may possess the land where you have been a sojourner, the land of Canaan, and you will possess it forever, and I will be your God. And the Lord said to Abraham, keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you, circumcise every male among you, and circumcise your foreskin, and it shall be a token of an eternal covenant between me and you. And the 8th day you shall circumcise the child, every male throughout your generation, him that is born in the house, or whom you have bought money from any stranger whom you have acquired, who is not of your offspring. He that is born in your house shall surely be circumcised, and those whom you have bought with money shall be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an eternal ordinance. The uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of that foreskin on the 8th day, that soul shall be cut off from his people, for he has broken my covenant. So let's look at 14 again. It says, an uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the foreskin on the 8th day, that soul shall be cut off from his people, for he has broken my covenant. So look at that right there. Is we being circumcised ever since we left the land?
No.
So now you see why so much atrocity coming on us? Because it's a lot of males ain't circumcised. That's where all the drama coming from. And that's what he mean by he's gonna send them away from me, away from him, and hide his face from them. He didn't send them out, and they done lost their covenant. They done lost their understanding of it, and they don't even think it's mandatory to circumcise no kid. It's only certain ones y'all causing to be circumcised. 15
now, isn't that an everlasting covenant too?
Right. That's what he said right here. When he said, if you don't have that sign on you, it's a problem. So 15, God said to Abraham, as for Sarah, your wife, her name shall be no more Sarah, but Sarah shall be her name. I mean, Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. He said, I will bless her and give you a son by her, and I will bless him, and he shall become a nation, and kings of nations shall proceed from him. Abraham fell on his face and rejoiced, and said in his heart, shall a son be born to him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bring forth? Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. God said, yea, and Sarah also shall bear you a son, and you will call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant for his offspring and his offspring after him. And as for Ishmael also have I heard you, and behold, I will bless him and make him great and multiply him greatly, and he shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear unto you this time next year. God ceased speaking with him, and God went up from Abraham. So notice right here, Sarah already got the baby in her womb. That's so you when you want to understand this right here, understand the conversation with Eve. He told her 2 seeds in your stomach. And he said, separate seed in your seed. Then what she had, Cain and Abel. Same thing right here. So it says, 23, Abraham did according to as God had said to him, and took Ishmael his son and all that was born in his house, and whom he had bought with his money, every male in his house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin. On the same day was Abraham circumcised, and all the men of his house, and all those who he had bought with money from the children of the stranger were circumcised with him. This law is for all the generations forever, and there is no variance of days, no omission of one day out of the 8 days, for it is eternal law, ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. Everyone that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, does not belong to the children of the covenant, which the Lord made with Abraham, but instead they belong to the children of destruction. Nor is there any other sign on him that he is the Lord, but he is destined to be destroyed and killed from the earth, and to be rooted out of the earth, for he has broken the covenant of the Lord our God. Right? So let's look at this right quick. This is verse 26 of chapter 15. So we dealing with JC. Was he a son, right? Is JC a son?
Yeah.
So
allegedly.
So look at this. This gonna kill it right here. Everyone that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, does not belong to the children of the covenant, which the Lord God made with Abraham. But instead, they belong to the children of destruction. Now look at this. Nor is there any other sign, not no star in heaven, nor is there any other sign on him that he is the Lord. But he is destined to be destroyed and killed from the earth, and to be rooted out of the earth, for he has broken the covenant of the Lord our God, right? See that? So his sign it was a star in heaven, right?
Right.
He just said ain't no other sign, but on the foreskin, ain't no other sign to identify that you son of God, or you son of the covenant. Ain't gonna no other sign. All the angels of the presence of the Lord, and all the angels of the sanctification have been created, already circumcised from the day of their creation. Read that again. All the angels of the presence of the Lord and all the angels of sanctification have been created. See that? Like I was showing you, is that's what we fumbling with. So we know with 7 angels that was formed, right?
Right.
See what he say? He make a point to you, all the angels of sanctification have been created, already circumcised from the day of their creation. They wasn't formed, they was created. And before the angels of the presence of the Lord and the angels of the sanctification, he had sanctified Israel, and they should be with him and his holy angels. Yeah, now he go to holy angels. And with his holy angels, that's the 7. See that?
Yes.
Okay. So these angels of sanctification and angels of purification was created, but the holy ones was formed. It says, command the children of Israel and let them observe the signs of this covenant for their generation as an eternal law, and they will be rooted, and they will not be rooted out of the land. For the command is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among the children of Israel. For Ishmael and his sons and his brother and Esau, the Lord did not cause them to come to him, and he did not choose them. Although they are children of Abraham, he knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people. He sanctified them and gathered them from among all the children of Israel, for there are many nations and many people, and all are his. Over all the nations, he has placed spirits and authority to lead them astray from him. See that? So let's look at that. So he says, although Ishmael is the children of Abraham, he knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people, right? So how did he choose them? He sanctified them. How did he sanctify them? On the foreskin. And then he turned around and told you he did the same thing with the angels. They circumcised on their foreskin. So go back to Mount Hermon. These 200 that came down, they was sanctified on their foreskin, but they went down here and did what they did. Think about that. So anyway, 31 says he sanctified them. So he sanctified them by the covenant on their foreskin. He sanctified them and gathered them from among all the children of men, and there are many nations and many people, and all are his. And over all the nations, he placed spirits in authority to lead them astray. So this Genesis, this at the Tower of Babel, when he divided, I told you he divided the earth up by the angels, these 70 angels. That's what he's saying right here. And it's 7 wicked angels, these wicked angels. He has placed spirits in authority to lead them away from him. Only he gave Israel to the Lord of hosts. But to all the other nations, he gave those wicked angels over to him, and they led them away from the Most High. Because they wanted to be worshipped. So they had them worshiping them. 32. But over Israel, he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is the ruler. And he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, that they may be his, and he may be theirs for now on and forever. I announce to you that the children of Israel will not keep true to this law, and they will not circumcise their sons according to all this law. For in the flesh of their circumcision, they will omit his circumcision of their sons, and all the sons of Baal will leave their sons uncircumcised as they were born. There will be great wrath from the Lord against the children of Israel, because they have forsaken his covenant and turned aside from his word and provoked God and blasphemed, because they did not observe the ordinance of the law, for they have treated their genitals, that's their private parts, like the Gentiles, and they have, and they may be removed and rooted out of the land, and there would be no more be pardon or forgiveness to them for all the sins of this eternal error. So let's look at when that happened right quick. I've been showing you this, but I'm going to read it right quick, show you where it happened at. I'm in First Maccabees right quick. This is what has happened there. It was prophesied right there in Jubilees. So, I'm in First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. In those days, there arose out of Israel lawless men who persuaded many, saying, here we go, let us go and make a treaty with the heathen round about us. For ever since the time that we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. Now here go the plan. I told you already happened. It's supposed to be the plan with the Antichrist. The plan seemed good in their eyes, and some of the people went eagerly to the king, and he authorized them to introduce practices of the heathen. And they built a gymnasium in the heathen fashion, right? So it's a gymnasium during the time of JC, but I ain't seen it yet. So we committed to uncircumcision. See that? Committed to uncircumcision. They committed to uncircumcision, broke the holy agreement, disowned the holy agreement, and they allied themselves to the heathen and became slaves to wrongdoing. He just told Abraham that's what they was gonna do. I just read it. He told Abraham they're gonna disown the agreement. And that's what they just done with Antioch Epiphanes. I'm gonna read it again, 33. Chapter 15 of Jubilees 33. I announce, it's the Lord of hosts, the angel. I announce to you, talking to Abraham, that the children of Israel will not keep true to this law. They will not circumcise their sons according to all this law. For in the flesh of their circumcision, they will omit this circumcision from their eye. We just read when it happened. That's why they got kicked out of their sons. And all of the sons of Belial will leave their sons uncircumcised as they were born. There will be great wrath from the Lord against the children of Israel because they have forsaken this covenant and turned aside from this word. This Jacob trouble, that's what we're in right now, because of this right here. And provoke God and blaspheme because they did not observe the ordinance of this law. They have treated their genitalia like the Gentiles, so that they may be removed and rooted out of the land, and there will be no more pardon or forgiveness of them for all the sins of this eternal law. See that? Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna read 16, right? I'm gonna read 16. On the new moon of the 4th month, we appear. See that? Here we go. I was telling you about these angels, so holy angels. On the new moon of the 4th month, we go back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Let us go down. Same beings, 7 holy angels. Ain't no Trinity. On the new moon of the 4th month, we appeared unto Abraham at the oak of Mamre, and we talked with him, and we announced to him that Sarah, his wife, would give him a son. And Sarah laughed, for she heard that we had spoken those words to Abraham. We warned her, and she became afraid and denied that she had laughed because of the words. We told her the name of her son, as his name is ordained and written in the holy tablets, and it is Isaac. We told her that when we returned to her at the set time, she would have conceived a son. In this month, the Lord executed his judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah and Zebulun and all the region of the Jordan. And he burned them with fire and brimstone and destroyed them, and they are destroyed unto this day because of all their works. They are wicked and vast sinners, and they defile themselves and committed fornication in their flesh and work uncleanness on the earth, as I have told you. In like manner, God will execute judgment on the places where they have done similar to the uncleanness of Sodomites, and they will suffer a judgment like that of Sodom. But for Lot we made an exception. But God remembered Abraham and sent him out from the place of the overthrow. And he and his daughters committed sin on the earth, such as not being on the earth since the days of Abraham until his time, for the men had sex with their daughters. For the man had sex with his daughters. It was commanded and engraved concerning all his offspring on the heavenly tablets to remove them and root them out and to execute judgment on them like the judgment on Sodom, and leave no offspring of that man on the earth or on the day of condemnation. In this month, Abraham moved from Hebron and departed and lived between Kadesh and Shur in the mountains of Gior. In the middle of the 5th month, he moved from that place and he lived at the well of Oak. In the middle of the 6th month, the Lord visited Sarah and did to her as he had spoken, and she conceived, and she gave birth to a son in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, the time of which the Lord had spoken to Abraham on the festival of the first fruits of the harvest. Isaac was born. Abraham circumcised his son on the 8th day. He was the first that was circumcised according to the covenant that is ordained forever. In the 6th year of the 4th week, we came to Abraham at the well of Oak, and we appeared to him. We returned in the 7th month and found Sarah with child before us, and we blessed him. And we announced to him all the things that he had been decreed concerning him, so that he should not die until he should begot 6 more sons, and saw them before he died. But in Isaac shall his name and offspring be called, and that all the offspring of his sons should be Gentiles. Okay, but in Isaac should his name be called, should his name and offspring be called, that all the offspring of his sons should be Gentiles and be counted with the Gentiles. But for the sons of Isaac, one should become a holy offspring and should not be counted among the Gentiles. For he shall become a portion, a dowry of Most High, and all his offspring had fallen into possession of God, and they should be to the Lord a people for his possession above all nations, and they should become a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. We went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him, and they both rejoiced with very great joy. He built an altar to the Lord who had delivered him, and who was causing him to rejoice in the land of his sojourn. And he celebrated a festival of joy in this month for 7 days near the altar which he had built at the well of the Oak. He built tents for himself and for his servants on this festival, and he was the first to celebrate the feast of the tabernacle on the earth. During these 7 days, he brought a burnt offering to the Lord each day to the altar, consisting of 2 oxen, 2 rams, 7 sheep, 1 male goat for a sin offering, that he might atone thereby for himself and for his offspring. An offering of thanks he brought 7 rams, 7 kids, 7 sheep, 7 male goats, and their first offerings and their drink offerings, and he burnt all of the fat on the altar, the chosen offering to the Lord for a sweet smelling odor. Morning and evening he burnt fragrance substances, frankincense and incense, sweet spice, nard, myrrh, spice, aromatic plants. All these 7 he offered, crushed, mixed together in equal parts and pure. And he celebrated this feast during 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and with all his soul, he and all those who were in his house, and there were no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. He blessed his Creator who had created him in his generation, and he had created him according to his good pleasure. God knew and perceived that from him would arise the plan of righteousness for an eternal generation, and from him a holy offspring, so that it should become like him who had made all things. He blessed and rejoiced And he called the name of this festival the festival of the Lord, and joy acceptable to the Most High God. And he blessed him forever, and all his offspring after him throughout all generations of the earth, because he has celebrated this festival in its season according to the testimony of the heavenly tablets. For this reason, it is ordained on the heavenly tablets concerning Israel that they should celebrate the feast of Untabernacle 7 days with joy, in the 7th month, acceptable before the Lord as a statute forever throughout their generations forever. To this there is no limit of days, for it is ordained forever regarding Israel that they should celebrate it and dwell in tents, and set wreaths on their heads, take leafy boughs and willows from the brook. Abraham took 2 branches of palm trees and the fruit of the good and pleasing trees, and every day going around the altar with the branches 7 times a day in the morning, and praised and gave thanks to his God for all the things in joy. Okay, so that was Jubilees, chapter 15, 16. Any comments?
Hey, Lamp,
Okay.
I noticed in chapter 16:1,
Yeah.
it started with a new moon.
Right.
And verse 5, he raining fire down on Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
So that them new moons, that's important to.
Oh yeah, something going on with it.
Right.
We noticed that Isaac was born on the first fruit.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they just got us told off. But we don't understand that all that part of it. But all that stuff is tied to the heavens. Like we read when it's actually the person that was born when the star jumped across the sky was Abraham. It wasn't Jesus.
Right. Another important part of what Lamar brought out there, and on the new moon of the 4th month,
right,
the judgment came down on Sodom, right?
Right.
Haven't we talked before that 440, 400 means judgment?
Right.
He did it in the 4th month.
Right.
Is that so?
Judgment, yes, sir.
Yep.
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 And another thing I on there when he said that there was no length of days on them circumcising themselves, and if they don't do it, there ain't no pardon for it. So that take you back to line upon line to Exodus 23:20 when he told you about this angel that's leading Israel. Said he's not gonna pardon your transgression. So it goes back to show you that it ain't Yahweh that's dealing with Israel, it's an angel dealing with Israel. That's been appointed over Israel.
Right.
Right.
And that don't get no clearer than Judges 2:1 that you read earlier.
I know that's right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I said, you can fumble with it if you want to. It's right there in your face. Yeah. Ain't that something?
So was Israel as a people, was they at the Tower of Babel? Or they wasn't they wasn't at the Tower of Babel, right?
Nah, I was showing you where Eber had 2 sons.
Okay.
We following the lineage of Peleg.
Mm-hmm.
But Joktan ended up just like when Abraham and Lot ended up in Canaan, but Lot ended up over by Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
Abraham ain't going nowhere near. Well, the same thing with them 2 boys. Peleg ended up in Ur of the Chaldeans. Joktan ended up at the Tower of Babel.
Gotcha.
Right. That's who Asher is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got anything before we go? Any more comments?
It's a good class.
Well, took the words out of my mouth, Lamar. Good class. Good class.
Yeah. So let me get this line right here. Yeah, so I'm gonna see everybody tomorrow on Wednesday at 7 o'clock for Ask Brother Leonard. Hopefully somebody gonna come with some questions. Try to taz it up a little bit. I'm gonna say shalom, everybody.
All right. Shalom, shalom, brothers.
Shalom,
Yeah.
brother.
Shalom.